Hello, dear students of class 8. I am sure that you are all quite well. Now I am going to take your history class today. The name of the chapter is From Trade to Territory. The company establishes power. So I am going to discuss the chapter in details. The British power began to emerge in India from the second half of the 18th century. The British originally came to India as a small trading company and were reluctant to acquire territories. Ultimately, they become the masters of the vast territory. This did not happen overnight. It took a long time. Clear? So the next is in 1600 the East India Company acquired a charter from the ruler of England, Queen Elizabeth I, granting it the sole right to trade with the East. The royal charter, however, could not prevent other European powers from entering the eastern markets. The Portuguese established their presence in the western coast of India and got their base in Goa. By the early 17th century, the Dutch too were exploring the possibilities of trade in the Indian Ocean. Soon the French traders arrived. So India was when India was under the British rules or others, so on that time so many foreign traders came on that time. Next, all the companies wanted to buy the same things, such as fine qualities of cloth, silk, pepper, cloves, cardamoms, etc. from the Indian market. Next, competition among the companies pushed up the prices at which these goods could be purchased, and this reduced the profits that could be earned. The only way the trading companies could flourish was by eliminating rival competitors. So on that time, many foreigners came to India and they started their business. So the foreigners countries took competition against each other. Next, the first English factory was set up on the bank of the river Hooghly in 1651. Soon the trade expanded and the East India Company persuaded merchants and traders to come and settle near the factory. By 1696, it began building a fort around the settlement. It also bribed Mughal officials into giving the company zamindari rights over 3 villages. One of these was Kolikata, which later became the city of Calcutta or Kolkata, as it is now called. Clear? Next, it is persuaded the Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb to issue a firman granting the company the right to trade duty free. The officials of the company who were carrying on private trade were expected to pay duty, but they refused to pay, which angered the Nawab of Bengal, Murshid Quli Khan. This led to fierce battle. So after the death of after the death of Aurangzeb, the Bengal Nawabs Murshid Quli Khan, Alivardi Khan, and Shirazdollah, one after another, refused to grant concessions of the company. Clear? This was happened out after the death of Aurangzeb. Next, but Mirzapur could not prove himself a perfect ruler for a long time. Hence, the company deposed him and installed Mir Qasim in his place. When Mir Qasim complained, he in turn was defeated in the Battle of Buxar in 1764, driven out of Bengal, and Mir Jafar was again came into power, who died the next year, that is 1765. In the same year, the Mughal emperor appointed the company as the Diwan for the province of Bengal. The company now began to exploit the vast revenue resources of Bengal. So after the Battle of Buxar, the company appointed residents in Indian state. These residents were political or commercial agents, and their job was to serve and further the interest of the company. Though the residents, the company began interfering in the internal matters of Indian states. Soon the company forced the state into a subsidiary alliances. According to the term of this alliance, Indian rulers were not allowed to have their independence armed force. They were to be protected by the company, but had to pay for the subsidiary forces that the company was supposed to maintain for the purpose of this protection. If the Indian rulers failed to make the payment, the part of their territory was taken away. Audh and Hyderabad, for example, were forced to create territories on the ground. Whenever the company saw a threat to its political or economic interest, it resorted to direct military confrontations. In this regard, we can give example of Mysore. So Mysore had become powerful under rulers like Hyder Ali and his son Tipu Sultan. Mysore controlled the profitable trade of the Malabar coast, where the company purchased pepper and cardamom. In 1785, Tipu Sultan stopped the export of sandalwood, pepper and cardamom through the ports of his kingdom and disallowed local merchants from trading with the company. Clear? Next, the company, for this reason, fought 4 wars with Mysore. Only in the last, the Battle of Sringapatam, did the company ultimately win the victory. Tipu Sultan was killed defending his capital Sringapatam. So the company was subdued the Marathas in a series of wars. From the early 19th century, the company pursued an aggressive policy of traditional expansion. Under the Governor General Lord Hastings, 1813 to 1823, a new policy of paramountcy was initiated. The company was claimed that its authority was paramount or supreme. Following this policy, the company annexed several states. So, ultimately, then when Warren Hastings became the first Governor General of India, he introduced several administrative reforms, especially in the sphere of justice. Clear, students? Next, in the early 19th century, the British developed a uniform military culture. Soldiers were increasingly subjected to European style training, drill, and discipline that regulated their life for more than before. Thus, the East India Company was transformed from a trading company to a traditional colonial power. So, dear students, I discussed details the chapter from trade to territory. I am sure you all the students understand it. So next I will give you some question and answer. Okay, thank you.